What's happening, YouTube? It's your boy Finland Speaks back, man, for this here breakdown of these women's Final Four games in college. So obviously, I got what I wanted. I wanted a finals that includes the South Carolina Gamecocks and the Uconn Huskies, which would be a repeat of the 2022 national championship game, and will it be the same type of result as we had last week? Let's talk about it, man. All right, so first you had South Carolina going up against the number one ranked Texas Longhorns. Number one in their respective conference. Uh, I kind of predicted that South Carolina will whoop their ass, and it kind of came to fruition, 74-57. This was pretty much a game where South Carolina pretty much dominated. I'm not going to say from the beginning. Absolutely, the Texas Longhorns had a good first quarter. Put up a nice little fight, but it got to a certain point in the game, especially early, where the Gamecocks, I think their experience, their ability to their defense was impeccable. Both teams were playing good defense early on, but then I think the experience of South Carolina kind of kicked in, man, that championship pedigree, and then they found a way to just be way more efficient on offense. I mean, we're talking about 50% from the field, as well as 63% from three, which is uncharacteristic for those Gamecocks. So I don't know that you can beat a Gamecocks team that you allow to shoot over 60% from three. Talking about 7 of 11. Texas, on the other hand, just only made 4 of their 10 threes that they shot. Across the board, this is one of those rare games where there was just dominance everywhere. We're talking about the edge and rebounding, edge and offensive rebounds, edge and defensive rebounds go to the Gamecocks. We're talking about 17 assists as a team versus 10 assists for the Texas Longhorns. You're just not going to beat a team like the South Carolina Gamecocks with just 10 assists in a whole 4 quarters. It's not going to happen. You're talking about 2.5 assists per quarter. That's not going to get it done. Then you turn the ball over 14 times. The Gamecocks, uncharacteristic. Well, the Gamecocks had about 13 turnovers themselves. One of the reasons why the turnover was not really crazy in this game, I think, is because of the pace. The pacing was not the type of fast-paced game that would produce over 20-some-odd turnovers. So that was kind of even for the most part. And also, the Texas Longhorns committed way too many fouls, though the Gamecocks was not far behind, which, though, is not surprising when you talk about these two teams who hang their hat on the defensive end. Now, to look at some of the outstanding performances in this game, the Jordan Lee of the Gamecocks, of the Longhorns, led the way with 16 points. 11 points from Madison Booker, who got into early foul trouble. Unfortunately, I think that had a lot to do with where the game went. I was kind of questioning the coach's decision there to sit her. I kind of would have let her play. Sometimes in these situations, you got to feel it out, because the offense of the Texas Longhorns, in terms of producing points, that's just not their thing. So when your best player is sitting, you really taking a chance with that there, and it just wasn't one of those high scoring games. So that's pretty much what you can find. Now the standout players for the Carolina on offense, for the most part, Joyce Edwards, who led the way with 11 rebounds, 13 points, completely was a problem down there, just dominating. Pow gives you 14 points. Fuwali was only 7 points, surprisingly. Watching the game, it felt like Fuwali was scoring more points. I don't know why. Sometimes that happens with me. I'm looking at a game and I'm feeling like a player is doing one thing, and then I kind of go look at the stat sheet, and it isn't quite that. But whatever the case may be, Raven Johnson was very effective defensively. Now, these things don't necessarily show up on a stat sheet. stat sheet, you see 2 points, you see 3 assists, you see 6 rebounds, which is, you know, active numbers. But she was just kind of all over the place, dictating, getting the offense into its sets, and was very active on defense. That's what you're looking for. Some elite blocks, number of those different types of things when we're talking about the great Raven Johnson. Chloe Kitts, Sarah Fagan both contributed 6 points. Bree Hall, 11 points. And again, this was just another one of those Dawn Staley excellent games, having a team completely prepared, knowing exactly what they were going to do. There was no confusion out there, and they just flat out went out there, got that thing done. What more can you say? So the question will be, can they continue this dominance, winning 3 national titles in the last 4 years, or 2 in the last 3 years, should I say? On to the other game. We got the Uconn Huskies. All right, which is the other team that I wanted to see. Flat out, we make no mistake about that. This was probably the shocker for me. All right, I wanted Connecticut to win the game without a doubt, more so because I want to see Paige, all right, Beckers, and Sarah Strong, and Easy Fudd go up against South Carolina. That's just flat out what I want to see. Made no mistake about it. I was just flat out about that. I did not want to see UCLA. All right, though. We're going to talk about some of the great Lauren Betts without a doubt. She is very impressive. Is a force down there, and I do look forward to seeing where her career goes from here. All right, so when we talk about this game here, this was just flat out ass whipping dominance from the Uconn Huskies versus UCLA. The defense from the start of the game, Gino had these girls out there all up in their faces, just playing those passing lanes, challenging every single shot. I was amazed. I was completely amazed at the defense. I was like, wow, this is impeccable. And for those like myself who love defense, it was a beautiful thing to watch. Okay, we're talking about similar to the last game. UConn pretty much dominates in every category here, while being super efficient on the offense. UConn forces UCLA into 19 turnovers. All right, do you understand? That is almost 5 turnovers per quarter. It is extremely hard to beat a team if you're going to turn the freaking ball over 5.5 times every damn quarter. And while UConn themselves only turned the ball over 7 times, okay, that's insane in the whole game. To turn the ball over 7 times while you force that opponent to turn that ball over 19 times. The amount of transition points you get from that type of basketball is just going to lead to blowouts. That's why the first thing I'm going to look at is those turnovers to understand and to tell the story of the blowout. All right. Now, what's amazing is UConn commits more personal fouls. Okay, that's the amazing part about it, and you still dominate like that. All right, so we're talking about 13 steals to 5. Okay, we're talking about as a team 17 assists, which is pretty good, which is really good actually, versus 11 assists for UCLA. Now, this probably has a lot to do with the pressure UConn was putting on them, the way they were playing the passing lanes. They would not allow them to get the ball, to do what they wanted to do on offense, getting that ball into Sarah Strong. They made that so challenging. All right, so you got to give props to a couple of players on UConn who were playing down low. So we're talking about Sarah Strong. We're talking about the other sister, um, uh, Jana Alfie, the Egyptian. I mean, the game plan they had really was the key to why they won this game. I mean, UConn were a ridiculous 55% from the field. Um, they were 43% from beyond the arc. They were uh, efficient at the free throw. The free throw line, it could have been a little bit better. They were 70% from there. They led in rebounds. Whether you're talking offensive rebounds, whether you're talking defensive rebounds, like I said, I mean it was just dominance from beginning to end. We look at some of the individual player stats. Betts was able to give him 26. Now she only provides 5 rebounds. That is a good job of not allowing her to dominate on the boards. All right, but as far as scoring, she's pretty much unstoppable when she's able to get the ball where she wants the ball. Once she gets in too deep, it's a wrap. Y'all can forget it. 6-7 frame, good footwork, nice post game down there. Really hard to stop. All right, outside of that, she didn't really receive much help. The next was Kiki Rice, who gives 8 points. Angela Dugalik, if I'm pronouncing her name right, gives you 6 points. 5 you get from Elena Arnisalo. That's pretty much it. Um, Not a lot of help there. Now, when you look at UConn really what jumps out immediately was the performances of Sarah Strong and AZ Fudd to start the game. I think Fudd's energy in the beginning is really what sparked that whole UConn offense. That's kind of what stood out to me. Paige came out there, and the good thing about what Paige did is that because she was not absolutely hot from the beginning, a number of reasons that happens when you're going up against UConn. I think the defense is kind of tailored to her. They put their best defender on Paige. Not that it stopped Paige. What I liked about what Paige did was she did not force the issue. She allowed her teammates to eat in this situation, which was very smart. Sometimes a star, in particular when they are on a hot streak. We're talking about coming off 31-point scoring performances, 34-point scoring performances, 40-point scoring performances. When you're putting together these string of games where it's unprecedented. You know, you're breaking records that were held by the greats such as Tarasi and greats such as Maya Morg, greats such as Bird and so on, right? Sometimes a star will go out there and try to force the issue. Didn't force the issue, played a very sound game, was very active on defense. Loved the way she was on defense. She provided 16 points, which ain't nothing to sneeze at. But it was Sarah Strong with 22 points who led the way. And AZ Fudd who contributed 19. And like I said, to me, I felt like she was the spark in the offense. So if I was to give out a game ball for this particular game, I think you got to look at Sarah Strong, who gives you 8 rebounds and 22 points. But overall, this was a hell of a game by UConn. Dominance from beginning to end. In another situation where I think Gino just put in he just put in a clinic of coaching from the standpoint of preparation. The preparation was so damn good, he didn't need to make a lot of in-game adjustments. His plan to control Lauren Betts, and put it this way, Betts was able to get 26. However, it was a hard 26. It was one of those 26s where they ended up turning the ball over a lot because of the way they were guarding her, face guarding her, and everything else, doubling when needed, and so on. And a lot of times the onus is on Betts to be able to find her teammates and get them going. UCLA was not able to do that. So kudos to Gino for that coaching job, and kudos to the ladies of UConn who went out there and were completely dominant. So now this sets the stage for what's coming up next, which we will deal with in more detail in a coming video. So that's my breakdown of these two games here. And I really can't wait to see what happens tomorrow. This is what I wanted. You're talking about Paige, talking about Fudd, talking about Strong, going up against the Gamecocks. You're talking about Fuwali, talking about Raven, talking about Pow Pow, so on. Kits, and Gino versus Dawn. Peace out.